Hello, bonsoir. And yes, we're speaking French this evening because we're coming to you live from Paris. It's quite exciting. It's a first for the C15 show to be outside of our norm, and also it's midnight in Paris, so it's quite late. But as we say in the business, the show must go on, and I really didn't want to skip a month. So here we are, June 6th episode of the C15 show, continuing to bring you all, valuable information and introduce you to some really key people in the creative business. And especially this evening, our guests are people who can help, really help you structure and craft the goals that you want to attain. We felt this year being the midpoint in the year, the June is the middle of the year, that it would be a good time to take, stock and check in and see how are you all doing, how are your projects doing, what goals did you set at the beginning of the year, have you achieved them? And our guests this evening are really great in this area of helping creatives zone in and find the essence of what they're looking for. So welcome to Keron, Niles and Darcel Roach. Thank you so much both for joining us this evening. Really happy to have you all with us and for you all to be able to share your knowledge with our guests. So welcome everybody, bienvenue. I'm going to throw a little French inside of there as we go along. As I said, we're coming to you all live from Paris this evening. That's quite exciting because it's a first, and also it's quite exciting for me to be here in Paris and at midnight and live with you all. So welcome to those tuning in. We know y'all are now coming on board, so thank you, and let's get started. Let's dive right in and bring on our first guest. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Keron. Dr. Keron Niles is a lecturer within the Institute of International Relations at the University of the West Indies. He's been doing research on the link between cultural industries and international trade in the Caribbean since 2008, so he's definitely not a newcomer. And he has a lot of experience. And actually, I've met Keron in this capacity before he started actually managing and advising artists. So within the last 5 years, his research has also focused on assessing cultural industries as a pathway to low carbon and circular economic growth. Dr. Niles is also the managing director of Koru Green Limited, a firm dedicated to commercializing creative content throughout the Caribbean. So Koru Green provides management, marketing, and research support to creative professionals who wish to find new markets for the content they produce and or to expand the consumption of their works within markets in which they're already present. So one of the companies he works for, represents, is the dynamic musical band known as Freetown Collective. So doing great work with them. Bravo, congratulations on their success, Keron, and all the work that you're doing with them. And welcome to the C15 show. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation to join us. We're not here, all right, unmute.
Yeah, I just thank you so much for having me, and welcome to everybody who has come to, really partake in the conversation. Always feel free to drop as many questions as you like. I would answer as many of them as I can. But I really just want to say thanks for having me, and I'm happy to be here.
Great. So, Keron, let's get right in it. Tell us a little bit about, your background. Oh, I forgot to mention that Keron is also a published poet, so he's also a writer. So you yourself are creative. So what made you feel the necessity, if you want, or the need to assist creatives in, understanding and commercializing their content?
Right. So there are two things that happened that were, I think, really huge. Well, there are actually three things that happened. But let me share two of them because of time, right? One is my brother is an amazing guitarist. He did all of the grades that you have to study this classical guitar. I think there's 7 grades. There might be more. I'm not sure. I'm not a guitarist, but he did all. At one point I said to him, "Yo, are you gonna do any more?" Like he's just like, I've done all," and I was just like, "That's impressive." And then he went on and he did um a degree in music and then a master's in music therapy. And it broke my heart to see how many people would ask him to play for free. And I would be like, you would not ask an accountant after they studied for over 5 years to come and do your books for free. You would ask your doctor to treat you for free. This guy studied for years and years and years and years, and then you go watch him and say, do a thing now. And that frustrated the living daylights out of me. My other brother is also a professional drummer who has a drumming school now. He very, very good as well. And again, it frustrated me to see how people responded to them. And the fact that they couldn't feed their families from their craft just irked me. So when Freetown walked into my office when I was still working for the government and said, we want to do this properly, and we feel like about the paperwork side of it. And I told them I do know about the paperwork side of it, but we had to go and do your work. And I told them exactly what to do, and lo and behold, they did it. And then they came back to me and say, "Okay, well, can you actually help us now?" And I was just like, "No." And I actually said to them, "Stop being lazy. Go and do the thing." And then they explained to me, "We're not being lazy. We're being artists. We just want to create art. And we know all this stuff is important, but can you just help us?" And I thought about it, and I thought about it for a few months, actually. The truth is, I actually put them on to another person to manage them. And that didn't work out. So then they came back again, and I said yes. So that's how I ended up in this position that I am in now, to kind of really help artists to chart their careers. So if I'm jumping right in, Lorraine, I just say, people sometimes ask me, what does that mean for artists? What it means is that I have a very good idea from now till 60 what Mohammed Morakil and Lou Lyons' careers are going to look like. Because this is not a joke. Like, if you were a medical doctor, you have an idea. Do I want to specialize? Do I want to have my own practice? Do I want to start a new hospital with some of my colleagues? You'd have dreams and ambitions, and there would be a structure to that. This is no different in this industry. It's a business. You know what I mean, Lorraine? It's a business, right?
Well, let me interrupt you because I find very important what you said there. You have a plan for Lou and Mohammed up until they're 60. I mean, I turned 60 last week, by the way, and I'm saying it because I'm very proud. And thank you. And thank you. But I mean, in my 30s or whatever, I had no idea where I would be at 60. So I find it fascinating and really interesting that you taking this approach with artists, because artists tend to be very, I would say, they live in the present. They don't think of the future. I think the future scares them most of the time because they're not sure of what it's going to be. So how are you able to bring them to trust, first of all, that this is, the path that they're going to take for the next, well, I'm not sure of Lou and Mohammed's age, but let's just say for the next 30 years or so, because I imagine they're in their 30s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I do is I start off with most artists, I start off and I say, listen, what is your definition of success? Because if we are out here trying to achieve anything, we are not going to be like headless chickens trying to do everything. This is not a vibe. You understand? If you want to express yourself, sing in the shower. I'm here so you can get a return on your investment, right? So we are here for me to get a return on my investment, for you to get a return on your investment, but also, if you tell me you want to be a successful artist, what does that mean? And so what I did literally is that I broke down for them. I said to them, you're allowed to have 5 things that define success for you, up to 5 things, right? More than 5 means that you're trying to achieve everything. And that make no sense to me. I say, the most is 5. I say, if you give me 3 things that mean success for you, that's great. And so for most artists, is a financial component of that success. What does that mean? They want to be paid a certain amount. They want to be able to afford it. They want to be able to if they want to put their child into private school, they won't be able to afford that. You know, so we have very practical conversations about what does this mean. So when I first started off, the financial indicator was a big one. And by the way, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but defining success is really important for something that we call key performance indicators, which just comes a little bit later. But first of all, we define success. For different artists, it's different. For some people, it's money. For some people, it's bling, and I'm not kidding. For some people, it's girls. You know what I mean? And for some girls, it might be guys. For some girls, it might be girls. I don't know, right? But for you, it has to be what does success actually mean? And for some people, it's their influence in the community. Some people, that means a lot to them being able to be called an influential artist. You know, for other people, it's community. So I told them, you have 5. And then what I do is I take those 5 and I say, okay, out of a ratio of 100, how important is this? And I actually break down those goals into ratios and I say, okay, well, this is your thing. This is how important these things are, because that allows me to prioritize those different goals. So to be a bit open, I don't think Frita won't mind me mentioning this. When we first started, let's say the financial indicator was much more important. But I revise it every 2 years. I sit down with them and say, okay, well, how are we doing on this? You know, and then they come back and they say, well, the money thing is not the most important thing right now for us. Right now, the most important thing is this. And that allows us to change our operations. And so when I sit down with them, I sit down and I say, what's most important? How do you find success? And you know who loves these conversations? Their moms, their wives. They love those conversations because you know who's paying the bills? Their moms, their wives, their relatives. They love those conversations. So when I talk to them about, and it has real implications, by the way. So from that, we get to talk about, okay, well, if these are the things that are important to you, this is how we're going to get there, right? So then we can talk about strategy, then we can talk about tools and tactics and the timing, you understand? And then the final thing I'll say is this, right? Many artists in our country and around the world are multifaceted. Mohammed Mawakil is an actor. He's a thespian. You know, so it's his right title. He's a thespian. He's a visual artist and he's a musician, right? And he's a singer-songwriter. So, and what I say, everything is important, but you can't do everything. So I say, tell me what's important to you, and then we structure the operations of the company according to what is important to you, so we can achieve some success.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is awesome because I'm sure those who are listening this evening are understanding how important it is to have somebody like you or manager. Lisa, hi Lisa, good evening, and thanks for sharing this. And you know, as she says in her comment here, that she doesn't think that artists see themselves as business people. No, they don't, and they shouldn't actually. And that's why, you know, a management team and that the kind of support that you would bring or Darcel would bring is so important, because artists are not managers. And I have been an artist manager for many years, so I know, you know, the struggle that they have trying to, I mean, you know, like asking them, you can't ask an artist to balance you know, their bank account or things like that. That's just, it just doesn't go with their psyche. So, and I like also the point that you made about the versatility, because it's true. A lot of our artists here or creatives in the Caribbean have more than one talent, but you can't do everything. Or you can, but not everything at the same time, you know, so you have to do timing. What for now. So maybe, you know, right now you're focusing on your music. Great. So let's make a career out of that. Maybe, you know, in 3 years' time, we could focus on become, you know, a scriptwriter, or as you said, or you get the opportunity to act in a major film, and that takes you into a different direction. So I see Lisa's hand is up, and usually we do the questions at the end, but we're feeling a little French this evening. So let's go out of the box. Lisa, tell us what you have to say.
Yeah, I was just itching to comment to Keron on the fact that, you know, I think involving the artists, though, as he suggested, was a good idea, because again, you know, the artists being creative people, they need to be in the zone then. And so therefore, even as managers, we have to understand what is important to them, while we seek to secure them financially for the future, you know, because that creative energy is fueled by their satisfaction. So, you know, it is a combination of understanding where they're coming from and what our role as managers and persons who are supporting the team have to play in doing that, which includes the holistic, and I know Lorraine, you will agree with me there. It involves the holistic person, you know, of being able to develop them in different areas, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's crucial and so important to really, as you said, they don't see themselves as a business, but they are business, you know, and that is where, you know, the structure part, and Darcel will talk a little bit more about that in her presentation, in chatting with her, but it really is important as a creative that you are business, and whether you choose to set it up, you know, under a sole trader or, you know, the different ways you want to set it up, you need to be structured as a business. And, you know, as C15, as potential financiers, we are not going to be able to consider, you know, investing in you and supporting your venture if you're not structured, you know, and if you don't have, you know, proper bank account and these kind of things. So this is really key in your growth. And, you know, as you said, I love what you said. If you want to express yourself, sing in the shower or, you know, paint and all that. But if you want to sell your craft and for it to have a return and for you to live off of it, you know, certain things have to be put in place. So let me ask.
And can I do? So,
yes.
Go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead, because I was coming back to you, Keron, so talk.
I was just gonna say that I think artists actually love having these conversations, but they are not going to be the persons to initiate these conversations.
Right.
I mean, at least artists that want to be managed want to have these conversations. You understand? And so it's up to the manager to actually say, okay, listen, this is what this thing is actually, and you can show them from real life scenarios. Like, for example, you can say, there was a time where Babyface used to be on the stage singing. But Babyface is no longer doing that. But he's still making a lot of money because he understands that there's different seasons in his career. So, and that's the thing. So I was able to say to Mohammed, okay, I know you love to do this, and let's invest the time in you developing this, because you know Malcolm Gladwell has this thing about developing your 10,000 hours and becoming really amazing at this. I said, become a really amazing stuff. And that means sometimes an artist will never like the whole world to know that. So I'm never going to say, give specifics of this in public, but sometimes that means we might need to send them for certain classes. Sometimes it means that we might need to send them to go and sharpen up their skills. We never tell them that. We never say to the public, you know, this person in guitar classes. We never say that. But we know for ourselves that if they want to get to where they're going, we need to say, well, okay, this is the time you need to invest in this portion of your career if you want to be the lead guitarist. And then later on, you can say, okay, then you invest this time in production. So, I mean, I could say now to Trans, a big one to the world, look out in the next 2 years or so, you might see more of Mohammed Market as a visual artist, because it's about transitioning and it's about planning. You understand? And so that's, I think it's really, really important. I think it's really, really important.
And I mean, you use the example of Babyface, but let's just use the example of Robin Fenty, please. She never needs to make
Rihanna, exactly.
Rihanna never needs to make one more song. Why? Because she has, you know, structured herself, she set it up, that she has these different entrepreneurial skills that are bringing in income. And also, I thought about, the classes, because let's not fool ourselves. All these mega stars, they're all doing vocal training. They're all, you know, they're all doing a certain level of training. So let's not just think that. I'm sure even Beyonce does, you know, has her vocal training and so on. So let's not think that it's just, oh, we're talented and that's all good. You have to keep honing your skills and you have to keep building on them, because that's growth, you know, and that also
you have to
makes
plan for it.
So
you have to plan for it, because you have to budget for it.
Exactly. So what would you say, or what would you recommend to Caribbean creatives to be doing to unlock the full expanse of their creativity, not just for themselves, but for the region's economy and future? Sorry, my little French slips in there. Sometimes I say the words à la française, so apologize. My brain is
That's all
switching
right.
to French.
So,
Yeah,
so
so
number one,
yeah.
I'd say thank you so much for that question, Lorraine. Number one, I'd say I think we need to view an artist's career like you would view a career. Like it's a business. If they want to feed their family, and so you need to think about it as revenue streams, right? For the music business, it's your recorded content, your live content, and your brand. Those are your major simplified. Those are your major pieces of content, and they're different revenue streams. At least 20 of them out of those three forms of content. When you sit down with an artist, you have to think about, okay, so knowing that you're going to be producing content that we're going to sell, what is your definition of success, right? And from the definition of success, then you can build key performance indicators, which is going to help you keep on track to know, this is actually, did we meet that goal of success or not, right? And then one of the key things that I think sometimes we leave out that I think is actually very important, and I want to mention here today for throughout the Caribbean, is actually core values, right? And I'm going to talk about why core values is really important in 15 seconds. Core values is really important because when you build a strategy to get from A to B, there needs to be like rules of behavior in terms of how we operate as a firm, how we operate as artists, what we do and what we don't do. And core values help you to stay within those boundaries. And then the final thing that I would say is, once you have an idea of what your core values are, build a strategy. You know, your strategy must have tools, it must have tactics, and it must have an indication of the timing of the execution, because it's going to be filled with SMART goals, right? We don't have enough time to dive into that. But the last thing I would say, once you have the strategy, once you have your core values, and once you have a key goal, key definitions of success, the last thing I would say is you need to make sure you understand your carve-outs. These are the basics. So of course, there's more stuff to be done, but you have to do those things. And by the way, when I say carve outs, which is I think is the I would say you could do it last, but you have to do it. Carve outs are those things that you're just not going to do. So you would never see Mohammed Mawakil or Lou Lyons as leads of Freetown Collective posing with a bottle of champagne or rum in their hands, because one of their carve outs is we don't actively promote alcohol. It's not we're not going to it's not we won't perform on a stage with a Hennessy banner behind us. We've done that before, but we as Freetown Collective are not going to tell people go have a drink of Johnny Walker. Like, we're not going to do that, you know. So, and they were very clear that that's a carve out, and that's really important to establish beforehand with your artists, because when the money comes knocking at your door, it is much harder to make that decision then. All right, so those are the things I would say across the Caribbean. You should decide from beforehand, and not just when the opportunities come, because the decisions are going to be much harder to make at that time.
I think you really gave us some important nuggets there, Keron, really important. And I'm sure, you know, everybody listening could see the value in that. And I was wondering what you were meaning by carve out. So now I perfectly get it. And, you know, I have actually worked with artists the same that have told me, you know, they don't want, you know, if there's an alcohol sponsor, they don't necessarily want to be part of the program. So, you know, it goes, and that is very important, because as you said, you know, people have their values, and artists, you have to respect them for that. Actually, interestingly, with Calypso Rose, her collaboration with Manu Chao, who is an international, well, French international artist, he also has very strict, I was reading his story, and like, he would never perform on a stage. He never did a brand endorsement. He refused to do a brand endorsement his whole career, never one brand endorsement. He was one of these kind of rebel artists who really built himself up on, you know, the strength and the value of being a rebel, being outside the box. So, you know, so what I'm trying to say here, you can choose to be like that. Of course, it's a hard road and it doesn't always work. But at the same time, you know, if you have strong values, you may want to, you know, to adhere to those things. But to come back to Keron's points, I really think that setting the goals and, you know, that question, how do you measure success, is so important, you know, starting there. And because for everybody it's different, and you really want to see where are you at and what does success mean for you. That is such a great question. And I welcome, I see some familiar names on. Hi, Janan. I'm so happy to see some of you all listening in to these conversations this evening that are really important. So let's thank you, Keron. Oh, by the way, Keron, are you open to handle other artists besides Freetown Collective? Are you open for business?
Yeah, so at one point in time, the answer to that was a firm no, but Koru Green is now expanding. We're now in the expansion mode, so we're now able to assist and take on more clients. So that's really positive for us. Yeah.
Yes, well, it's positive for the community because, you know, we need more people like you. You know, we don't have enough, I believe, proper artist managers and support in the Caribbean. I think that is really lacking. And, you know, I'm really happy that you're open for business and not exclusive Freetown anymore. So that is good to know. Thank you so much. So if you all have questions, please put them in the chat and we'll come back to them at the end, okay? Let's go on to Darcel. Darcel, thank you so much for joining us. So Darcel Kajim-Roach, she's otherwise known as the business manager, and she's created a brand whose mission is to support small businesses and build a community of trust. By connecting small business owners with each other where needs and expertise align, she affirms that once the community is strengthened, they can better serve customers where their trust will grow as well. With 15 years of experience in brand management, marketing, and event management, coupled with a knack for resourcefulness and an extensive network, Darcel is armed with the necessary tools to guide business owners towards their own success. Her ability to break down key elements of entrepreneurship into a digestible format via her social media platforms has allowed active and potential business owners to engage with her content as learning resources that not only educate, but motivate business owners to strive for better. In just under 2 years, because I think you started this when COVID hit, right? Yeah. She has worked almost, yeah, I remember when you kicked it off. She has worked with almost 50 businesses and provided 24 subcontractors the opportunity to grow their respective businesses, which underscores the impact of connecting persons with the right resources to achieve growth, the very mission of the business manager. Welcome, Darcel. Thank you so much for joining us. So I saw when you launched this business manager, and at the time, I think I reached out and told you, great, you know, we need these type of organizations and support. So tell us a little bit about the background and how you got there.
Well, yes, I mean, when I launched, it really was at a time where I really was thinking about what my future would have been, because I was working in events at the time. And I couldn't see myself retiring in the event capacity just yet. And I really was trying to figure it out. So, I mean, I was one of the fortunate ones that kind of forced a little bit more thinking of what my next path would be during the pandemic. But realistically, I come from a marketing background, starting all the way back in Scorch magazine days, which is actually where I met Junan. You know, I was like the production manager. I've always had a knack for anything that's creative, even though I tend to be a little bit risk averse. You know, I am the person that saddles both the creative and logical side of things. You know, I went on to become a brand manager. I handled hair care, personal, household, all these different types of things, and that gave me a little bit more structure in developing my marketing skill sets. And then I went on to help build Caesar's Army as a formal company, because I came with them from the junior Caesar entertainment days. And then, I mean, I was always alongside with the guys while they produced the events. But when they really made that decision around 2015 to take it to a full-time operation and execute events on a larger scale than it is now, I was part of that team that like, all right, the three of us, all hands on deck, let's just make it happen. And then, you know, the brand is what it is today, you know, from global events, etc. I was more like the one that would anchor the ship while they go out and do what they had to do. And now, you know, I created the business manager to take that knowledge of everything that was that amalgamation of my teenage days working in a mall to working summertime at the UN, you know, all of these things. I kind of just have all of this knowledge and an ability to, you know, break down information in a way that I think people need, because they can't get overwhelmed and whatnot. And I just have a knack of making it a little bit more casual, make it understanding, and help them feel more comfortable with the things that they don't quite understand with running a business, and especially creatives. I originally wanted to support creatives, and I say, you know what, I think I need to get a little handle this, because creatives could really test your patience and just not do what you said to do. Because even look Keron tell you, he's like, listen, only get serious and come back and check me, because you know that's just what it is. They don't have that business acumen yet, and you really have to hold them and take them across the finish line, you know. So when I'm a little bit more expansive in my field, I have the time and the energy to take on more creatives, I will help that side of it. But for now, I'm focusing on the little entrepreneurs and these small business owners and whatnot. But I'll share a little thing in between for the creatives.
Good. Yeah, well, I mean, as we said, you know, being a creative is a business, so they need to understand that. But let's talk a little bit about the benefits of goal setting, because you know, we've been talking a bit about this internally in our organization, and we realize how important it is. I mean, as we know, and Keron made that point so well too, you know, like you have to give yourself targets. So what do we want to achieve in the next 3 months, 6 months, year, you know? So talk to us a little bit about what do you think it's important one, and why?
Oh, absolutely. And I was glad that he mentioned SMART goals, because I think we all take it for granted that everybody knows what SMART goals mean, right? Not everybody would have been exposed to business subjects or whatever. So those are some of the concepts that I try to share and communicate and keep regular parts of my conversation so they get more familiar and comfortable with the things. So for those who are watching and they don't know, I will give you a brief. It's just specific, measurable, achievable, it's realistic, and you're time specific. So any task that you set, make sure it checks all those boxes, right? Specific meaning you know exactly what you want. Don't leave some lofty, vague goal like I want to be the best. What exactly does that mean to you? So when he explained, you know, what does success look like to you, that's where, you know, you really have to focus on getting specific. And the benefits of these things is it helps you understand how you're going to move things forward in your life, whether it's personal or professional. Goal setting is really what helps you feel like you're moving forward and you're not just stuck in the same place and you just don't know what's happening around you, right? So to me, that's one of the main benefits. And even when you accomplish something that you've known as a task that you're pursuing, there's just this sense of accomplishment that, you know, just being able to cross that off your list and know that you did it is its own motivational factor. Like, okay, now what else can I do? Because I was able to do this. Let me move on to something else that might be a little bit more challenging, because I knew that I was able to do that. I can go on to the next step. And it helps you fuel your own self to do more and do better and grow. And that's how people get to develop their skills, develop themselves in their career path, whatever their skill set is. So just as, you know, he used as an example, if it is an artist or whatever creative field you're in, if you want to pursue a certain path, just go and get the training that is required. If it is that you love sketching and you want to be an animator, go and learn to do, how do you translate these sketches into an animation, you know, things like that. Like, don't ever let anything hold you back. But the way to use goal setting is to say, I want to finish a course by the end of 2022 in this specific area. And then you look up what is required. So goal setting is really, really helpful in helping creatives know what they're going after. How does it align with their overall vision? And then you move forward with that in mind. And I endorse the 3 to 5, everything Keron said. I was like, yes, we're on the same page. Like, to me, 3 to 5 goals, like 3 is your average, never cross 5, because then you tend to be doing a lot, and that's where people tend to get overwhelmed and you get discouraged because you feel like nothing is happening. Start with just 3, you know, just 3 main things. And once those are done, then you move on to the other 2 things that you thought were really important. just get the first 3 done, you know, and then take it from there. Because really and truly, without goal setting, you're really just playing this guessing game and you're just hoping for the best at that point, you know?
Yeah, well, and because we see how important this is, actually, so normally we have a giveaway on the show. Tonight we don't have one, but we are planning for July to release something that could benefit all the creatives. And it has to do with goal setting and so on. So, I really see that as super important. And we use that a lot in our work. And as an individual, even I use it, it's so important. But what would be your tips for creatives who procrastinate? Because creatives can procrastinate. And they doubt themselves a lot. And that's why also it's important to have the management team or that support, because, the nature of a creative is to doubt and feel that, is this the right thing? Am I going in the right direction? Do I sound, do I sound good? Does this look good? So what would what would be your tips to help them along those lines?
Well, there are a couple of things. First thing one is tackling the procrastination, and as a recovering procrastinator myself, I would definitely encourage, start with small habit forming things, just get a task that helps you just develop the habit to committing to something, even if it, let's say, in a personal space, you spend all this time in this sedentary state, like I am always at a desk, like I hardly do any movement. So to me, I need to get more active just from a physical perspective. So I may say, all right, I need to commit to just 30 minutes of movement at least 5 days a week. So if it means walking after I drop my son to school or doing something at home that will require me to move around, that's just me committing that I'm going to do that 30 minutes every day. And that helps me understand that, okay, if I'm able to commit to this, then I know I can do something else that can develop into a routine. So something like that, I think, will help getting people to stick to whatever is their task for goals, the goals that they're trying to achieve. Because your impulsiveness will always be there. Your mind is always going, you're always coming up with a new idea and you jump to this, or you stop what you're doing and you go to something else, and there's a lot of unfinished work, So if you stick to something that is, you're committing to this one thing, that really helps. Also, in terms of pursuing the goal, to remind you, because sometimes if you just have it in a notebook, you don't pass a couple pages, you forget about that. So what I find, especially in the creative space, visual aids tend to help a lot. So if it means there's a physical image that helps you remind yourself that there's something that you want that's tangible, or a scene that represents something that you really want for yourself, then put it somewhere that is always going to be in your face, whether it's your phone wallpaper, on your fridge, by your mirror, in your bedroom, your computer screen, something like that. Because once it's always in your face, it's always going to remind you, crap, I told myself I'm going to do this. And it's always around you because it's easy to forget. Even setting reminders on your phone that you forget about however long ago, or like, hey, drink some water, or hey, don't forget to do this today. You said once a week, you're going to do this particular task, like it's always going to come up as a reminder. And then the last thing that I think is also very helpful is get an accountability partner. That's a relatively new term for a lot of people, even myself. I was only exposed to it last year, sorry, where we get so engrossed in the day-to-day and everything that we have to do, and it's too much and there's a whole lot happening. But there's this one thing that you really want to stick it out with. Get somebody who's going to check in with you, whether it be daily, twice a day, 2 days a week, whatever. They're going to hold you to it. And usually people, it shouldn't be like a big stick over here. But once you know in the back of your mind, at least most people, that somebody is going to come and ask you, hey, did you do so and so? There's sometimes a little guilt trip that comes in mind to say, no, I didn't do this. So now you feel obligated, like, oh gosh, this person is going to come and ask me today or tomorrow, whatever, make sure and do it. Those things tend to help. And then you develop the habit over time, and it's less forced after a while, but you just have to get the hang of it, So I find those things might be good tips to help.
Yeah, those are great tips. I love the accountability, because that also, I learned about that recently when I was doing an online course when they made us create an accountability pod. So it was like a couple people. And exactly, it's like, you know, it's like the difference between going to the gym and having an instructor, or just going to work out on your own. Like if you just go on your own, I don't feel to do it. But if you know the guy is waiting there and you paid for him to be there, and you're gonna go. So as you said, if the person is checking in, or you have this little pod where it's 3 or 4 people, you know, working to, hey, how did it go? Did you finish writing that story you were working on this week? So it kind of forces you. So I think it's a great, those are great tips. And I love the idea of the accountability one, because again, we want to create community. We want to create these,
and they
you know,
encourage.
yes,
They encourage you more time. It's like those people that at the end of a marathon, that just when your mind ready to just give up, they're like, come on, you could get this done. Just cross the line. You need to just cross the line, and you're good. You know,
it's like giving birth, Darcel, like reminding you that you could do it, right? Because for those who don't know, I am also a doula, and actually Darcel and I have a very intimate relationship where I helped her during the birth of her son. So, and that's one of the things doulas do, is to encourage the moms, you know, that you can do this, that you, because giving birth is a marathon, let's face it. So, you know, to have somebody there encouraging you is really important.
And Lorraine was a G. She really helped me with that, because boy, that pain was no joke. He had to stay in there a little bit longer, yes, because I wasn't able.
You were awesome, and all moms, you all are awesome. You know, nobody can, until you've experienced childbirth, you really don't know what it is. Let's come back to our goal setting. So you gave us some great tips. I think those are awesome, and definitely we will, you know, I think, you know, we need to highlight those tips and share with our creatives. So we're going to do that after, you know, when we release the videos. Challenges and hurdles are unavoidable. You know, of course, you know, things don't always go as planned. That's the nature of the game. And especially we know as event managers, like in production, you're always solving problems. So how can we help the creatives? How do creatives stay on track when things go awry? Like, what would you recommend?
Well, I mean, they just firstly have to get comfortable with the notion that as much as you plan, sometimes things just don't go according to plan, right? So I definitely will encourage people to tap into techniques that can help them manage their anxiety, help them develop some sort of stress management techniques, because getting a clearer sense of mind, not necessarily clear, but at least a little bit clearer, helps at least defog, you know, okay, what else is going to take me over this hurdle? Okay, we encountered the challenge. I can't stay here and wallow in it. What can I do to clear my head and then figure out what is the next solution, you know? And those techniques tend to help them regroup and try again. You know, so whether it be, you know, you step away from whatever situation you're in, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, you listen to music, you watch something Netflix related that is just mindless. You know, people find ways to defog and then they come back and tackle it, because at the end of the day, challenges will always happen, right? You can minimize and mitigate and plan as much as you can, but something may not always go as planned, right? But in terms of when it comes to challenges with your goal setting, I do think that once you put that vision and the idea on paper, it helps when you have verbalized what it is that you want, you can always go back to whatever that thing is on paper to revisit the idea and the concept of what it is that you're trying to achieve in the first place. Let's step back and take a look at what is it that we wanted to come out of this, and then say, all right, we tried this and we tried this did not work. We need to look at another solution, because this vision, I have to stay the course because this is really what I want to do. Or it kind of puts you in that perspective to say, this vision, I don't think I align with this anymore because this is 5 years ago and I've grown. Maybe this is something that I need to change course. And that kind of helps you understand that the challenge that you're feeling right now, it might be as a result of you just outgrew what it is that you originally had in mind, you know? So those types of things tend to help a bit. but goal setting also contributes to, you knew what you had to do. This did not work out in the way that you planned. And then you revisit the vision to double check and say, all right, we need to go or we need to change course.
Yes, I mean, it makes total sense. And of course, you know, I am a strong advocate for, you know, the meditation, the yoga and those kind of things, mindfulness, and just, you know, going in nature, just taking yourself out of the stress. And oh my gosh, things never go as planned. Let's just say it like that. There's always something that changes, you know, you think you have everything lined up, and so you have to have that flexibility also, in the sense where you don't panic when things you know, don't go as planned, and you know, stay your course. And you know, even I have post-its around my house. I have things to remind me of my goals, of my, you know, the manifesting. I believe a lot in manifesting, and you know, and putting that vision out there to make it a reality. It's not just about holding it inside, you know, expressing it to other people, sharing your vision with other people too helps, you know, to make it more real. So I think you all really gave us some great tips and tools this evening. I hope the creatives listening feel the same. It's time for question and answers now. So do we have any questions? Anybody wants to even share their personal experience of how, you know, they're doing their goal setting and so on? Would love to hear more from who's on. Anybody wants to share any questions?
Come on, Julian, I know you have a question. I'm kidding.
You do? Go ahead.
He's like, call it out.
Everybody is pretty, but I think you all were very clear too. And of course, the business manager is also open for business. So if you all want, you know, if any, I mean, I know she said like she's not focusing specifically on creatives, but she does have the background to really support creatives. So
the business planning process would be most helpful to the creative sector right now, because it helps. My plans tend to help pull the ideas out of their brain and figure out where it really needs to go and that kind of thing. So perhaps that might be an avenue they could consider.
Definitely. So yeah, I guess, I mean, and no questions. I'm surprised that I guess everybody feels. And do you all have anything to add? I see somebody's hand went up and then came down, but Stephen.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm from Jamaica.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I don't really have a question, but what I do, like I do a little music and graphics and write some poetry and some software development. What I find, you know, sometimes to balance your own creativity, what like if you have some ideas and you try to implement it in one aspect, you see that there might be a difficulty. You could try and implement it in another aspect and see which one carry more weight. You understand? So you might have an idea that it might be musical, but if you try it that way and you see there's, you know, like a hitch, then they could do it in the form of visual art, and then maybe it might have a greater impact. So I think, you know, that's a route that some creatives or even all creatives could take if, you know, they have that procrastination spirit. They could try it that way and see how far they can come.
Thank you for the contribution, Stephen, and thank you for Jamaica for tuning in. Happy to have the Caribbean represented on this live. Really happy, because C15 is a Caribbean company, and we really want to encourage creatives from around the Caribbean to reach out to us, not just, you know, our home base in Trinidad and Tobago. Any other thoughts from any of our participants? Welcome, Mrs. Montano. Thank you for joining. We don't have a lot of people, but we have real people on this, and I love that. I love the caliber and the type of people we get always on these webinars. So important, and tune in. So Anybody wants to share? Janana, how does this sound for you? Because I know you are very multi-talented, and you know, are you setting goals? Question to you.
Hi, not Darcel, I can't avoid it. Don't hear my name. Hi, Keron, long time. Hi, Lorraine. Hi, Darcel. I really well, I mean, it's all three of my go-tos. So, everything everybody said. Yeah, reminder. I need to actually start back on the accountability partner side of things, because that kind of dropped off. Because I don't have that as much as I used to. So that was a nice reminder to take away from today. I do have a lot of goals, but I'm trying to, you know, reduce to the 3 like Darcel keeps telling me. So lots of nice reminders tonight.
Good. And so, yeah, well, great work, Janan. Congratulations on all you're doing, and continue at it, because I think, you know, I know you have your frustrations, but you know, you're doing such an amazing job. Don't give up, you know, keep at it. It's not easy being a creative in the Caribbean, you know, and that's why, you know, organizations like this, as you said, like the 3 of us, like, you know, we're here to try and support you all and give you all the tools to empower you to realize your dreams and to bring out the best in what you can do. Because, you know, the talent we have in the Caribbean is incredible, and we need to zone in a bit and really make this more profitable for the people involved, but also overall for the economy, the creative economy. You know, we're still, you know, struggling on that level. So yeah, Keron.
So I just gonna say just 2 things. I know we're gonna run out of time shortly. I know people are gonna go and have their dinner and stuff. So I just want to say 2 things really quick. I think I'm very familiar, very familiar with having accountability partners and setting up accountability partners for persons because of my work in youth work, but also in many churches that I've worked with, churches love setting up accountability partners. But what I always say to people, regardless of your background, regardless of what it is you're doing, an accountability partner is not someone that's meant to show you what you're not doing, or you haven't done that yet. Yet, listen, they will help to keep you honest. But an accountability partner helps you to account for your ability. So you have an ability to do X, you have an ability to do Y. So if it's Janan, she has an ability to produce an entire TV series, right? Animated TV series. We have all these abilities. What an accountability partner does is that they help you to account for those. Like, how are you using them? And that goes back to the planning. So it's not just about calling your friend and being like, yo, I'm gonna do this. And if I do it by then, customer. You know what I mean? It's not just that. It is what is it that I want to achieve as an artist, as a person, you know, and am I using my ability to do that? And I think there is a wider life application there, because you can use this as a father, as a mother. You can use, I mean, we all have the ability to do amazing things, but unless there's somebody that has a wider vision of where we want to go, that is helping to be like, listen, this is who you are as a person, you know, because sometimes, and I've seen this before, sometimes things look glamorous on the outside, like, oh, you guys did such a good job, but you haven't really lived up to what you are capable of doing. Somebody needs to be able to pull you aside and be like, yo, you know, between the both of us, I mean, I understand what the crowd is saying. You know, between the both of us, you know that we still have a bit to go, right? You know, and that's what the accountability partner is for. Now, to be honest, in some ways, that's what friends are for. And so I want to really encourage us to use it in that way as well. The other thing I'd say is, don't be shy to put on Caribbean heroes, our own icons. You know what I mean? I use the example of Babyface, we use the example of Robin Fenty. Let's also use the examples of Marshall Montano, because of course, from little boy to grown man now, you can kind of see stages of career development, you know, and you're also seeing, again, a music career, international music career. You also see that it's not just music, you're also seeing chocolates in there. You understand? These things don't happen accidentally. Somebody has to plan. Somebody has to be like, take this from just being Marshall as a person to being Monk Music Limited. You know what I mean? People like these things, somebody has to go into a bank and register for a bank account. Somebody has to go to the Ministry of Legal Affairs and register an actual company. Those things, and just to be real clear, what I'm saying, the reason why I say look at your local examples, and if you know people, ask them as well. The reason is because forming a company is not just something you do in a VAPS. It is a legal responsibility. Like if you just form a company and forget about it, you will forget about your annual returns payments, and then you end up owing the government thousands, which is what happens to people coming to my office. They say, well, yeah, I formed this company, and I say, well, hold on, have you been paying your annual returns? They'd be like, what's that? And then when we check, they owe the government tens of thousands of dollars because all their friends were forming companies and they just decided to form a company. That's not what we're saying to do. We say, like, this is a small region. Let's use our own community. Let's use our own examples to see how we can best plan to develop ourselves, both as individuals, but also to develop enterprises as well. That's what I wanted to say. Thanks for having me, Lorraine. I can be quiet now. Take care.
No, but great point. You know, let's see ourselves as enterprises. This is so important. And I like what you said about setting up companies, and people forget them and don't even remember. And then they, as you said, so great, great, great. Everything that was shared, so important and so valuable. And of course, I'm all for looking at our Caribbean heroes. And of course, you know, Marshall celebrating 40 years in the business, incredible. Calypso Rose, 50 something years, you know, on the stage. You know, these are real milestones, and really, and as you said, you know, things that you can analyze. And fortunately, Mrs. Montano, the ultimate insider, is going to grace us with this Marshall story next month. I think the book is being released in July. And I think we'll be able to see also and understand better the path and the growth and what it took for Marshall to go from being, you know, a 7-year-old singing. And I'm wondering, you know, at 7, I'm sure his mom and dad didn't think that this would be his full-time career, you know, probably at that age. But look at how it developed into his full-time career and the examples that he set, you know, for others to follow in his path. So definitely let's be very mindful of what we have achieved as, you know, Caribbean creatives already in the world. And don't forget that, you know, the first song that sold 1 million copies was a calypso ever in the world. You know, Ari Belafonte singing a calypso was the first song to ever sell 1 million copies. And that just shows you the power that we have in our hands here as Caribbean creatives. So again, coming to you live from Paris, the city of lights and love, because it really is absolutely beautiful. Last night was actually the Fête de la Musique. The French celebrate on the 21st of June every year, the beginning of summer, and they celebrate the Fête de la Musique. So all over France, music is played. So yes, we went out in the streets, and every block there was different forms of music, from African to, actually a guy was like singing calypso in a bar. It sounded like calypso anyway, because, well, we know the links between African music and calypso, right? And then, you know, there was EDM, there was rap, there was so much different, and all of this out in the streets. When we walked, we felt like it was Trinidad Carnival. We're like, this is Carnival or what? You know, people with drinks in their hand and stuff. So it was a great atmosphere, and you know, and very uplifting and good feeling. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We definitely went over tonight. We reached a whole hour of conversation, but I think we made such valuable points. And as I said, these clips will be shared on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe C15 Studios YouTube channel, where you can get all these clips. They're also available on our website, and we will, of course, well, if you're registered, you would have got Keron and Darcel's information. So if you want to know more about them, you can reach out to us. Actually, maybe Maria, maybe you can put it in the chat so everybody has their their company name or their website. That would be helpful. And yeah, if nobody has any other comment, good night, bonne nuit, because it is 1 a.m. here in France. So I don't think I'm going to go out in the streets again tonight. I think I'll go to bed. But thank you so much, everybody. And we look forward to seeing you all again next month. And thank you, Keron and Darcel. Good night.
Thank you, Lorraine. Take care.
Good night. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Oh.